You know, I've never made a video to complain about a company's customer service, but this is different and I decided it was just too important to keep quiet about because I want to warn you all. I genuinely believe that many of you watching who use Uber are falling victim to these scams that Uber drivers use to siphon off extra fees from you right through the Uber app, and you'll never know about it. And when I say scam, I don't mean the typical hidden fine print fees. I'm talking about full-blown fraud where the driver can lie about the trip and you get charged for it and they don't tell you about it. And Uber support, in my experience, will do very little to help you unless you really bug them. I waited 2 weeks to see if the standard support channels would return my money, and they did not until I publicly complained about it on Twitter. Now quickly, before I get into the details of the scam, I'm gonna be fair and say that I don't think Uber themselves are trying to scam people, but they are being ignorant to their drivers doing it. But the reality of it is that it doesn't matter who's at fault, just that it does happen. And I'm not even going as far to say as never use Uber again. This isn't one of those videos. It's just to make you guys aware. And Uber, if you are watching, I do have some ideas and suggestions at the end that I think would help solve a lot of these issues. So anyway, this is the scam and how I found out about it because it happened to me. Earlier this month, I was at CES in Las Vegas, the Consumer Electronics Show that is. While I was there, I took several Ubers with myself and a friend of mine who was helping me film that week. It was only ever us two in all of these Uber rides. And yes, that is relevant to the story. So after I get home after CES, I always go through my expenses and match up the receipts with the credit card charges like you're supposed to do in any business just in case you get audited. You have to do that sort of thing. I'm going through all these Uber charges, but there's one that just doesn't match up. It was a charge for $8.72 on January 7th. I'm looking at my ride history in the Uber app and there is no ride charge for that amount. All the other charges match up except for this one. So I messaged Uber support with all the relevant info, the unknown charge amount, the date, the card that was used, all that. And after a bit of back and forth, this is what they said. Happy to explain, Joseph. The fare $8.72 to which you are referring is the extra charge that was deducted from your account as there were more than 4 people in the car. Your driver let us know that more than 4 riders took this trip. Uber X and Uber Black vehicles are limited to 4 passengers. Your fare was adjusted to fairly compensate your driver with the appropriate pricing for the time and distance of your route with more than 4 riders. When you want to ride with more than 4 people, select Uber XL or Uber SUV to ensure you're connected with a vehicle that can safely accommodate everyone. So now I'm thinking, what the heck are they talking about? I know that it was never more than just me and my camera guy in any of the rides that week, let alone 5 or more people. My first thought was, well, maybe my account was compromised and someone used it for a ride. But after asking support for further details about the trip, nope, it was for a ride that we did take. And that was the problem. Now, before I continue, I want to point out that I was never notified of this charge in any way. I never got an email. It didn't show up in my account. And the charge on my credit card had no memo describing what it was for at all. And to top it all off, the ride that this happened on didn't even originally appear in my trip history, even though I was emailed the receipt. And only now, several weeks later, does it show up, and with a fare correction. It didn't show up at all before, now it shows the full price with the correction. So they'll not only hide the charge from you, but also hide the trip from your account altogether, or at least long enough for you to not notice, I guess. Uber claims that when your receipt is updated, you'll be sent an email saying so. That also never happened. Strangely enough though, I did receive 2 emails for that same trip. One immediately after it ended as usual, and another identical email 10 minutes later. And this second email had no mention of an adjusted fee at all. It had the same original ride fare, so I thought nothing of it at the time, but in hindsight, I think the system was supposed to send me an email with an updated receipt, but apparently it doesn't do that right. And it's infuriating because after I asked for clarification about the trip, mentioning it wasn't showing up in my trip history, they sent me the same canned response, but this time they put the supposed reason in bold, as if I couldn't read it the first time they said it. Of course, I then told them that I definitely never took a ride with more than 2 people, let alone more than 4 people. And they basically said, yeah, we'll look into it, and never responded after that. So here's what I believe happened and why everyone needs to be aware of it. I believe the Uber driver for that ride lied. I don't believe it was a mistake. in order to get an extra fee. She probably figured I would never even notice the charge since it was only about $8. But I did. And why scam us, you might ask? Why us in particular? Well, this is what you gotta watch out for. I think she thought we were an easy target. You see, for this ride, we were actually on the way back from a virtual reality party at one of the hotels at CES, and it was really late, like 2 a.m. But as you can imagine, you don't exactly go to a virtual reality party to get wicked wasted or anything like that. I had like 2 beers at the beginning because of the free drink tickets and none for the next 3 hours, so we were basically completely sober at this point, not exactly foggy memory like she might have thought. But I'd bet you anything that that driver was thinking, oh, these are just 2 young idiots visiting Vegas, they're probably spending so much money, you know, there's no way they'll notice an extra Uber charge, and if they do, they're not gonna take the time to investigate it over $8. But that's where they were wrong. I made this video for 2 reasons. Sure, to call out Uber on those shady practices when it comes to potentially fraudulent fees, but mostly as a warning for all of you just to be aware of this. Of course, Uber doesn't care. This video won't affect their bottom line. But if you are using Uber, you need to check that your charges on your credit card match up with your rides, because you will never know otherwise, no matter what they say is supposed to be notified. And this is why I'm equally angry at Uber themselves, not just the driver. Because I think Uber, in a way, knows what they're doing. I think they know that they can just tack on these fees without telling anyone, and they'll just get away with it. And they know that even if someone emails customer support, they can keep the fee anyway, because how can the customer prove otherwise? For all I know, the driver could say that you tried to fit an entire mariachi band into their 2-seater and ripped up all the upholstery while wearing football cleats, and you would have to pay for it. And you know what's even more unsettling about this? Is I have no idea if this happened before, and you probably don't either. The only reason I noticed this one is because I had painstakingly gone through the business expenses because I had to. How much more money have they taken that I don't know about? A typical person who uses Uber, even occasionally, might never notice that there was an extra charge at all unless they really look at their credit card statement and count the number of trips you took. And this was just one type of fake fee that they could have claimed. I have no clue how many other unprovable fees they can claim. So you know what? Shame on you, Uber. Even if you had refunded that fee immediately, you've lost my trust from the fact that you kept it secret whether you were doing it on purpose or not. It was only after I made public tweets about the issue that it was addressed anyway. What about those who don't have thousands of followers? And I don't care if it was 1 penny or $1 or $8. It's not about the amount. It was my $8 and I worked for it, and you took it based on a lie with 0 evidence. Now again, do I think Uber is purposefully scheming to take innocent people's money without them knowing? No. Do I think their system is broken and causes the same results? Yes. And look, I understand that Uber needs a system to protect drivers from riders who obviously can be just as malicious, if not more so. I get it. And to be fair, the person that reached out to me on Twitter said that my case was not handled properly. But of course, the reason I made this video is I believe I'm not the only one. If my case was handled improperly, which I don't know what part of it was, then obviously it can happen to you. So Uber, if you're still watching, here are my suggestions. First, all claims from drivers should require evidence to even be considered. Why this is not the case, I don't know. Second, I think your app should have built-in features for collecting this evidence, and these built-in features must be used. For example, have a function for drivers to securely take photos right through the app. This will prevent false evidence because you can store information like exactly where and when the photo was taken, the location, to prevent alterations. I've seen several posts online where people said Uber drivers have submitted fake or reused photos claiming that someone got sick in their car for a cleaning fee, for example, and this would solve that. Also, I think that the app for drivers should automatically record video of all rides using the phone's front-facing cameras. You could have a rolling buffer, say, of the last 3 rides or the last few hours, even with the option to increase this buffer if they have more storage on their phone. And you can make it so the videos cannot be exported by the driver, but the app would have a function to submit these clips with reports as the required evidence. If something happens, the driver could then mark the clip to be not deleted for when they do go to submit it. And perhaps even the rider could flag an event, causing the video to be automatically uploaded to Uber from the driver's phone for that ride. So both the rider and driver could submit that to Uber for evidence for whatever. Obviously, these features are easier said than done, but they would protect both riders and drivers alike. there would be indisputable proof of anything that may happen during any of the rides, keeping everyone honest, and offer a huge boost in trust. So that's all I have to say. Guys, just be vigilant, double check your credit card statements because you don't know if this is happening already. I really hope you guys found this video helpful. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. We could talk about it. Has this happened to you before? I don't know. So as usual, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.